Welcome to Between the Sheets, the podcast where we're going to cover a variety of topics related to sexual health and wellness. I'm Dr. Stephanie Zwanitzer, your host. I'm a nurse practitioner and have been in practice since 2017. I have my Doctor of Nursing Practice degree, and I specialize in urology and sexual health. I am so excited to explore all of the various topics related to sexual health and wellness with you in a fun, spicy, educational, and non-judgmental manner. So come on, let's get between the sheets. Hey, welcome back to Between the Sheets. I have a guest on for me today, and I'm very excited about this one. This is Gabi Salas. She is the pen name of a writer based in Kansas. Gabi's international best-selling books have earned her top new release on Amazon and readers' favorite 5-star awards. She specializes in both contemporary and paranormal romance. Gabi offers something for every kind of romance reader, believing that reading smut is good for your health. Her writings is described by readers as steamy, consensual, and sex positive. You can find her books on Amazon at gabisalas.com and at local Kansas City bookstores. So please help me welcome Gabi Salas. Yay! I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to nerd out about romance writing today.
Yes, that's awesome. So tell me, how did you get into romance writing?
I think a lot of writers say they've always wanted to be a writer ever since I was young. I definitely did not anticipate writing romance when I was young. I actually didn't even start reading romance until a little bit before the pandemic. I love a thriller. I love a mystery. That's what I basically was married to for a very long time. And I don't know, something around like 2018. I had a 2-year-old at the time. And so I don't know, maybe I was looking to spice it up. I feel like the romance genre has exploded year after year after year for the last, 5 to 8 years. I'm not sure when the spike really climbed up, but it's been bananas for the past few years. So I started reading a bunch. Yeah, it's like it's everywhere now. Every
Yes.
romance book is getting turned into a TV show or a film, and there's new ones getting picked up all the time. And I love that. I could have a whole conversation about how the independent and self-publishing world has opened up so many doors for writers who want to get their stuff out there, because I am self-published, and I also didn't think I would ever be a self-published author. I wanted to land a publishing deal and get a big name behind it, but I've done a lot of learning. I'm one of those people who does a lot of research for years about the thing before I do the thing, because I just want to know what's the lay of the land here.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I decided to self-publish. Let's see, I wrote my first manuscript in 2018, got it professionally edited, got beta readers. By 2019, I had it ready to go through my first round of edits. And I was sitting there going through edits, and it was the worst thing I ever read. It was horrible. I was I cannot publish this. This is garbage pants. And so I put it away, literally didn't do anything about it until 2023. So I started writing again, finally just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off and put my work out there, and started getting public feedback from it. And it was good enough feedback that I just kept going. And because I don't do anything small, I published 3 books within 3 months of 2023. And
that's amazing.
Just keep pushing them out.
That's so great. I love that. So tell me a little bit more about, so this is a sex podcast. How does erotic novels fall into someone's sex life and improve their sex life?
Yeah. Well, I think to make sure that we're having the conversation around the same thing, there is a pretty significant difference between erotic novels and romance novels.
Okay.
So I specifically write romance. The reason why I say that is Amazon is very, very harsh about their gradings between what's erotica and what is romance. And
Okay.
I could go into all the nitty-gritty details about that, but you cannot advertise. If you write erotica, you cannot advertise your books on Amazon. You cannot advertise your books on Facebook. It will not be shown on a top 100 or top 10 list at all, because Amazon is a platform for all ages. And so they, I guess, are trying to mitigate the minors being able to see it, even though if you know the title, you can literally find it and go download it. So it's
Not to
still
mention, you
accessible
can find dildos and penis pumps and every other kind of sex toy
everywhere,
out there.
everywhere.
Okay, got
Exactly.
it.
But the literature is too much. It's too much.
Oh, God.
But the long and short of it is, if there's a plot, if there are B characters, if we care about the motivations, it's romance.
Got
If
it.
there's none of that, it's erotica. So
Okay. So it
I
can be
love
filthy
both.
and smutty as long as there's a storyline. Love
100%.
that.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep. Yep. And so I basically started, reading a bunch of romance in 2018, 2019, and was reading books that I felt like, when you go down the rabbit hole, and I think if your listeners are romance readers, you're going to get into a rut of reading a certain type of romance, and you're going to be like, I need to either I need to find a new kink, I need to find a new author, I need to find a different angle, because it is really easy to kind of get trapped in the lens of whatever like little subgenre that you're reading, whether it's dark or mafia or comedy or contemporary or whatever. So I started reading a bunch that I really liked the overall like sex positivity of it, but I felt like book after book after book that I read, it was still a little bit of a damsel in distress situation. She still needed to be saved. He was the one who could save her. They're going to break up while they're trying to figure that out. And then eventually they're going to get back together. And then there's a bunch of sex in between. And I wanted to write something that fit all of that, because there are specific beats for a romance novel. In order to be considered a romance, there does need to be a happy ending. I liked the beats, I liked the storylines, but I wanted her to be kind of a little bit more in charge of her sexual identity. I wanted her to be a little bit more confident, a little bit more assertive. I wanted her to be the one to decide, I'm not ready for this relationship or this next level, so I need to go do what I need to do to kind of grow up, gain my confidence, learn something. I'm a small business owner, so my characters tend to start their own businesses to
Love
find that
that.
identity,
Yep.
because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so my female characters definitely go off on their own. They're not saved in any way, shape, or form. And by the end of the book, all of them tend to be really super slutty with their people. And I love
Love
that
it.
so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. It's like any woman that I feel like goes through a major change in her life, whether it's a divorce or a change in career or something like that, all of a sudden she figures out who the hell she is
Yes.
too and
Yes.
what she wants out of life.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's really crazy because, we're here to talk about obviously like sexual health and sex positivity and all of those things. And I think innately off the jump, maybe these two things aren't obviously connected, but especially with the skyrocketing of romance readers specifically really infiltrating the market. I pulled up some stats before we got on so I could have like current stuff. Romance fiction novels account for 34% of all fiction sales.
Wow.
Romance novels make up 23% of the entire US fiction market, and
Wow.
romance novels account for 55% of all fiction paperbacks sold.
Holy
All of
cow.
them, everywhere,
Yeah. Sounds
over
like
half. And so, like, that's insane.
yeah.
That's an insane stat, and I feel like it's only growing. I remember when I published my first novel, I mean, literally just last year, my debut novel was the first smutty book, romance book that the majority of my girlfriends had read. And
Hmm.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I feel like there was such a big gap between the like airport Harlequin novels that you like, those tiny paperbacks,
Yep.
and the romance genre that we see today.
Yeah.
But it's impactful. It's huge.
Yeah. And I remember even as a kid going through the grocery store and seeing the books with the sexy man with his six pack and the female just like sprawled on top of his chest. But
Yep.
I think it's what you said though. They were all the same genre. They were
Yeah.
all the cowboy, the hard worker, the blue collar guy who comes in and saves the damsel in distress. And
Yep.
it was basically the same story over and over with a few details changed.
Yep. Yep, 100%. It's a plot that's tried and true. It's a trope that's tried and true, and I love it. Like, find your moneymaker and go all in. And I think that I can see that the romance readers are demanding more of the writers in the past 5 to 6 years, and I really like that. And I
Yeah.
think that the conversations that I've had with my girlfriends, we've had book clubs centered around not just my romance books, but romance books in general. And the conversation at book club has shifted from the book and talking about the storylines that we liked best, to literally pulling up, Belisa and different sites to order a new vibrator and to
Yeah.
talk about like new toys that we have or conversations that we have with our partner. And one of my very, very great friends got her first vibrator less than a year ago. Like, what are we doing? And
Right.
so it's that. But like, romance books started that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. And, I can think of two friends off the top of my head that both their best way to get aroused and turned on and ready for sex is by reading romance
Yes.
novels.
Yes.
Their
Yes.
husband can touch them or do the dishes or do whatever all they want, but it's
Yep.
it's using their imagination and picturing what they're reading that
Yep.
really gets them turned on and ready to be in the mood.
100%. And I it's really cool because I was reading up a bunch of studies about this conversation. There's not a ton out there, but what is wild is that some of the sources that are on here are from like 1984, 1993, 1980. So none of this is new.
Right.
It's not a new conversation. I think that it is in a little bit of a different lens because, I mean, well, 50 Shades was the thing that truly like catapulted everything. I think that
Sure.
that's the number one question I get often when my book is brought up, especially with the little bit older crowds where they're like, is it spicier than 50 Shades? And I'm like, 50 Shades was nothing, like
Yeah.
literally nothing in comparison to what is out there on the market right now. It's
Yes.
nothing. So I can only imagine what some of these studies from 1984 are really like referencing. But what's really interesting is that, we disassociate while reading. We read to put ourselves in a different environment, a different world, walk in someone else's shoes. And I know that it's happened to me in a lot of different novels that I've read, and I'm sure it's happened to your listeners, where you read something and it sinks in with you, no matter what it was. And maybe weeks or months later you're telling a story and you're like, oh, this someone I know this happened to, and you describe the story and you're like, oh wait, no, I don't know that person. That's actually a character from a book that I read. And
Yep.
so imagine you've done that on, a thriller or a really interesting book that you've read in whatever genre. Well, the same thing obviously happens with romance. And so the escapism that happens in while reading also it like flips something in our brain for us to think that it is reality. And I think that there's a really interesting like split in the conversation. There's half of the people over here who are saying that that's a negative impact on relationships, meaning maybe we have higher expectations. We as in women have higher expectations from our partners because of the characters that we're reading, or we expect these grand gestures of love and wild billionaire romances because of what we're reading. And there's the other part of that conversation. It's like, no, if I put myself in that space to be able to pretend like I could be as confident as she was, or I could get love and respect in the same way that they did, or whatever triggered it for you, then that's going to help you in real life be able to call on those same skills.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of
So
the
have you Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
please.
sorry. I was just going to pull out another stat for you. One of the studies that I saw was 75% of the study participants reported that reading romance novels had a major impact on their sex lives. It occurred in several ways. Some saying they were more likely, and this is my favorite part, more likely to engage in sexual activity, and by making them more likely to try new sexual activities.
Yeah, that I was thinking about that too, that if there's something that you haven't even had your eyes opened to yet,
Yes.
and then you
Yes.
read it in a book and you're like, "Well, shit, I wanna try that."
100%. Yes. And I think that like it quite literally gives you the script of how you could ask about it, talk about it, research it, introduce it into your relationship, because it is actually happening on paper for you, where you can copy and paste that script
Yeah,
for
I love
yourself.
that. I love that. Yeah, because I think, a lot of us, one of the things that I talk about a lot is communication and talking about what you want and things like that. But
Yeah.
sometimes we don't know that
We
what
don't
we
know.
want is out there and we need
Yeah.
to be shown it. Or you hear about something and you're like, I don't know, that doesn't sound really cool to me. That's not my style. But then you read it in this book and you're like, oh, that
Yeah.
actually is hot. Like, let me try
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I think it's such a great tool for any of us, but
Yeah.
especially I think as women, because the arousal part for us takes so much longer.
Mm-hmm.
And, the average time for a woman to get to climax is 14 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most men last 5 to 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's almost like another form of foreplay that
Yep.
even if you can't spend that time together, if tonight's date night, maybe when you're getting ready, you're listening to or reading a book, or, on the way home from work, you're going to listen to something off of Audible or whatever.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you're in the mood. And when you do get to the actual foreplay and all of that, you're already primed and ready, and you're going to
Yep.
reach climax within the same time frame as your partner. And I
Yep.
think that's
Yep.
so awesome.
And just be like, the muscles are ready. You're literally relaxed and lubricated and all of the things that are necessary for that. One of my favorite, there's two apps that I highly recommend. One is called Quinn, Quinn, and one is called, I think it's pronounced Dipsea. I could be wrong. It's Dipsea. And it's erotica, Audible basically, and
Ooh.
it's a membership where you don't pay for a story, you pay for a subscription to the entire app, so you get access to thousands of stories. They're real life voice actors who have like a persona on these accounts, so you can find ones where you really like their voice, or you like their
Mm.
accent, or you like how they, their character that they play basically. And it's organized by all of these categories, like BDSM, threesome, in public, dirty talk, like anything. Pick your kink and
Yeah.
try it. And one is a little bit more storytelling, where it's like a short story in maybe 30 minutes, and they hook up, and it's like one scene basically. Another one, the other app, I think, because I forget which one is which, but one of them is more storytelling. One of them is more what's the best way to describe it? It's more, it's got a lot of sound effects. And so
Okay.
it's like just listening to porn
Okay.
and not watching. So like there are a lot of sound effects. But
Okay.
like again, pick the thing that strikes your fancy.
Sure.
Try one while you're getting like your makeup on or taking your makeup off or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
sprinkle those in as these little moments that lead up to the big show, and it
Right.
changes things a lot.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. And tell me the names of the apps again.
Okay, so it's Quinn, Quinn, and Dipsea, Dipsea.
Okay.
And they're
Awesome.
pretty affordable, like $7.99 a month, $12.99 a month, something like that. And you just get access, and you can like make your own playlist. You can save, different categories of playlists for different moods. And again, I think the app version of this, like obviously go buy books and read them or listen to them however you want to devour them, but these apps specifically, because they're shorter and they're like quicker to the point, and they're very kink related, like kink focused, so you can
Hmm.
like or like find them very specifically to the thing that you're looking for. Imagine like maybe being, am I interested in BDSM? I don't know. Let me listen to a playlist that
Yeah.
has this involved in it, and you're hearing the language and how they're responding and what he's saying to her, and directions, and what tools are they using, and all of these things. And I think it gives you a crash course in trying it out for yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. That's such a great idea. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's important. And I think it brings it up between your friends too, where you can talk about like, this is what I read. Do you guys do that? Do you know, like,
Yes.
what has your experience been? And because I think this is such a conversation that we're so shallow on and we're so surface on with our friends. And
Yep.
so the more we can talk about it and get into some of this stuff, the more that we're able to explore on our own, feel comfortable with it.
Yep.
And I know sometimes the conversation is really difficult with your partner versus your friends. And so if
Yes.
you get more comfortable talking to your friends, then all of a sudden talking to your partner is like no big deal.
Yep. Yep. It's wild, the conversations that it truly has opened up for within our friend group. I couldn't have imagined that we would be quite literally ordering vibrators and dildos at a book club after we came there for a non-romance book. Like we're talking about books in general, and it just
Yeah.
like opens up this conversation. And there have been, I think, just so many different ways that even friends within my friend group have been able to approach conversations with their partners. And I know the confidence level for me, not just in initiating or saying, here's what I want or here's what I want to try. That's definitely been impacted. But I think another huge benefit from reading romance, especially in today's day and age, there can be so much different body representation and relationship representations in romance novels.
Mhm.
Someone can crank out a book like within a couple weeks or months, get it edited, publish it out. So it's like there's new ones hitting the market every single day. There's a huge demand for, plus size characters, neurodivergent characters, disabled characters. And I remember reading a romance book. I picked it up because it's a romance book and it sounded cute. I don't even think that I knew that this was part of the plot. And I'm reading this book. I have a chronic illness. I have endometriosis, have had it since I was 16. It's fucking awful.
I
Hate
bet.
it. And it comes with a lot of period pain, cramping, bloating, unexpected issues with my body, right? And I'm
Yep.
reading this book, and this woman has PCOS. So similar
Very similar.
enough to
Yep.
endo.
Yep.
She's having these cramps. She's feeling like garbage. She can't lift anything. She's on the bathroom floor. She's literally having this experience that I have experienced multiple times
Yeah.
in my life. And the male lead comes over. She's like, don't come. Don't look at me. I'm a mess. Like I'm on the floor,
Yeah.
right? And he basically comes in and takes care of her. And it was just, I'm crying reading this
Oh,
book in
yeah.
bed, never having seen this represented ever in a romance book, in a book at all.
Yeah.
And to see it in this capacity of these two people who I know are going to like get freaky in a couple chapters. And like, I don't know, it was just so that conversation can be brought in and she can still be sexy and they can still
Yeah.
be intimate and all of these things.
No, I love that. That's awesome. Very good.
One of the conversations that's really wild, that I do feel like should be studied and doctors need to be talking about maybe with their patients. This was super interesting, and I don't think I copied over the actual stat, but it was a super high. So one of the conversations in the book community from the writer's side is not just talking about like consensual sex, because there's also like a non-con trope. Like that's a thing that some people like to read about, and that is a whole other conversation.
It sure
But
is.
there's a like a sub kind of thread within that about how much is it the writer's responsibility to represent good sexual health choices,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And there are studies being done now, I'm sure, and being talked about the condom usage in books and the lack
Interesting.
of condom usage in books. And what's really funny, because I know this conversation has been had a ton regards to actual pornography, right? Video
Right.
pornography and the usage of condoms in sexual health. What's really interesting is that the study showed that more women than men in books, so female characters, not real women, female characters are the ones being written to say, please don't use a condom. I want to feel all of you. I don't want there to be a
Interesting.
barrier between us. And predominantly romance writers are women. And so I
Right.
find that very interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if that's going to impact like real relationships of
Right. Right.
protection.
Yeah, and and protection and consent are things that I obviously, as a medical professional, believe in very strongly.
Yes.
But I can understand the fantasy part of it and the talking through it, and certainly when you're in a committed relationship, whether it's
Yep.
sexual or otherwise, and if you've decided that between the two of you that you don't need protection anymore, whatever, that's totally a conversation that's up for grabs.
Uh-huh.
But I do think that what you're saying is very interesting about how that's coming in the literature and how that could
Mhm.
affect things.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is that in the writer community, the groups that I'm in, it's people will leave a bad review if you don't reference condoms. Like there's a
Interesting.
group of readers who believe that writers are responsible for the shape of sexual health. And I'm neither agreeing nor disagreeing. I think
Right.
that's a really big conversation to have.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
and what's really funny is that what has happened over the years is that there's reviews of like this, think about how I know that conversations about sexual health in general, but also like assault and safety in shows like Lost, right? Where
Sure.
we watch these people being stranded on an island for how long, and there was absolutely no assault. There was no like unwanted pregnancy. There was no unwanted advances. Like the realities of that happening in this world were not represented on the show.
Right.
And it's a valid critique. And there's that valid critique in romance novels as well, in the sense
Yeah.
of, are we bringing up condom usage or protection, or I'm on birth control, or I have an IUD or whatever? But what I find interesting is that the theme seems to be, if it's addressed at the very beginning and the woman's like, oh, I have an IUD, it's fine. Oh, I just got tested, I ended this relationship. Like, here, we're going to talk about our clean bill of health, and we're going to talk about our usage of not being pregnant. And then they don't have to ever bring it up again.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
we're going to have a conversation once, and the reader's like, okay, check. I can now
Yeah.
live in the world where they've had the conversation. So
Right.
I think that's so crazy, though, that readers want that so strongly.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting because it is something that is definitely needs to be a part of conversations. And with so many divorces and people that don't even want to get married and things like that now, it's a newer phenomenon of having so many people having multiple sexual partners
Yeah.
later in life, where even you might not be really worried about contraception anymore because guys had a vasectomy, she's past menopause, something like that. But you still need to worry about the STDs.
Yep.
And so it is a really interesting conversation, and something that is more, I think, to the times now than maybe in previous years with romance writing. It's very interesting that you bring that up because I don't know that I have consciously thought about that when I've read romance novels, but now I'm
Right.
going to.
Now you will. You'll think about it and you'll be like, they aren't using protection
Right. They didn't bring this up at all.
at all.
Like, I'm calling Gabi.
What would you do here? Yeah.
Hey, hey.
I think I like to address it with, maybe they use condoms the first time, and then, she's like, okay, I'm on birth control, we've been tested, we're good. And
Yeah.
then I did write and I put this in quote, an older female lead. She was 37. It's older in the genre.
Sure.
A lot of romance writers write 18, 19, 20-year-old characters, and I'm just,
Yeah.
I am ready to move past that.
Yes.
So she's 37 and she has an IUD. And so it's they talk about it and it's clear. But again, it's like, okay, I feel like I need to write this in once. They have like a couple paragraph conversation, and I know that will satisfy my readers, and so we can move forward. But
yeah, I think that's amazing.
I don't want to be the result of an uptick of freaking chlamydia.
Exactly. So tell me, you said you have 3 books out now?
Yeah, so I published 3 in 2023. I've published 1 so far this year.
Okay.
I'm sitting on like 3 nearly finished manuscripts. Summer with a young child is nearly impossible to do anything.
100%.
I have a 7.5-year-old, and so it's been a wild summer, but I'm ready. She starts school in 3 days.
Excellent. Not that you're counting down.
Not that I'm counting.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a lot slated for this year. I wrote my debut novel was a new adult, and so she starts in college, but then we pick up after she's graduated college.
Okay.
And then I was in a writer's block after my first novel, obviously. And wanted to dive into the second one that came from that series, but just couldn't. And the thing that I do to get out of writer's block is write, but in a completely different, like, it's not required for this next book. I just wanted to like try something new. And I ended up writing like 3 little mini novellas, little mini books. And I was like, okay, but they were paranormal, spicy, weird, like super weird. And I was like, why not? And so there's 2 very different genres that you can find in my little Amazon store.
Excellent.
So you pick your poison, you pick your kink, and dive in.
I love it. I love it. And we will put the information in the episode about where they can find your books and everything about that. So there's going to be some links there that we can attach for people to find your books. And I really appreciate you coming on today and talking to us. This is a really fun topic.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So everybody go get a Gabi Salas book and turn yourselves on and have some great sex tonight. Thank you for listening and spending time with me today. You can catch new episodes of Between the Sheets every Wednesday, because what better way to add some spice to your life than to have a new podcast on Hump Day? We will continue to explore common, uncommon, and taboo topics related to sexual health and wellness. Please send any comments, questions, or stories to podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. That's all one word, podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. Have a great day. And remember how important it is to discuss these topics with your friends, your family, and of course your partners. In fact, you can like, follow, and share this podcast so they can see it too. See you next time for more sexual health topics between the sheets.